Jumping straight into this tutorial, guys, we're going to start by combing the hair into its neutral position, always combing according to the cowlick and to their natural hairline. Then I'm going to go ahead and start soaking it, getting it ready for all the shear work that we're about to do. And as you can see here, I'm flipping to the finer side of the comb just to ensure that I'm running the water all the way down to the grain of the hair. And we're going to start by sectioning out what's called our profile section, which is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of a section split down the middle. And of course, using my very own Faded Culture shears, which you can find at fadedculture.com. It does come in a set along with the thinning shears. So here I'm determining my length, and I'm gonna take a section with the previous cut section so I can keep using as my guide as I move forward. And the profile sections, it is important to determine your length and also the shape of the cut that you're about to do. And from here, we're gonna go ahead and split that profile down the middle and make horizontal sections on the top and use that piece of the profile as my guideline. And just keep in mind that the smaller the sections that you make horizontally, the less cross check work that you're gonna have to do. And of course, what we do on one side, we're going to repeat on the other. And if you're having problems with sectioning, it's probably because the hair is too dry. You could also add a little bit of leave-in conditioner just to help section. And as you can see, I got my profile here. Again, just using it as my guide and just work in small sections forward, and that's pretty much it for the top. Go ahead and re-soak the hair. Now we can start the back of it. Since this is a mullet, we're going to create vertical sections now. So again, similar, starting to what would be a profile, starting in the middle. This is where I determine the length and the shape. And always grabbing a piece of that previous cut section along with the new one to use as a guide. From here, we're basically going to have a moving guide, just working in small sections vertically. As you can see, it bleeds through. So using that as my guide, and again, just working my way down. Once you're done with the right side, again, now start moving in small vertical sections towards the left. Go ahead and start drying that hair, as wet hair is very hard to fade, so try to dry it as much as possible. We're gonna go ahead and start our debulking process with the number 2, and we're gonna open up that lever completely. Just make sure that you don't go higher than that parietal ridge. And it is essential to debulk when the hair is long so we can ensure consistency in our guidelines. So now we're going to come in with no guard, lever completely closed. And yes, my clippers are zero gapped. I will leave a link down in the description on how we zero gap our clippers and why you should too. Next up, we're going to go ahead and open up that lever completely, taking up about a finger's width. The guideline's very faint, but it is there. And we're going to continue the process going in numerical order, now using the number 1 guard. And once I start to get to these actual guards, if I had to say, I am going up about a finger's width, but my intent is to not create another guideline. This is basically just trying to make them as soft as possible, so it is easier when we work our way down to eliminate them. And from here, we're gonna get that number 2 guard lever completely open. And one thing it is, when it comes to these higher guards, I do start to exaggerate that flick out motion. Next up, we got the number 3, and I'm switching out my brush for a comb so I can reset the hair after every few strokes. And finally, we got the number 4 guard. No matter how long the hair is on top, this will always be the highest guard that I will use on the sides. And from here, anything after that, I'll use either clipper over comb or shear over comb. Just be careful when doing clipper over comb, especially on the mullet. You could use a number 1 guard just to use as a safety net so you don't cut off more than you need to. You don't want the boy walking out like Chuck Liddell. Here, just freehanding some of that frizz. Now using my thinning shears to remove a little bit of that weight. By now you should have 2 guidelines. We're gonna start with that top one and work our way down. Using my half guard, we're gonna go ahead and put it in a 3/4 position. It's basically somewhere in between halfway and fully open. And now that I'm actually working my way down, you're gonna notice that I'm using mainly the corners of the clipper. So since that step did create a line right above it, we're gonna go ahead and come in with our 1 guard now, but leaving that lever in that 3/4 position. And like I mentioned earlier, as you can see, I'm using mainly just the corners of the clipper. And finally, for that last line, it's going to be a 3-step process, starting with the lever closed, then halfway, and fully open. And like I mentioned earlier about that 0 gap video, it is important that you watch it. You don't want to overly 0 gap your clippers because it could potentially start to scratch your client. So make sure you check that one video out in the description. And finally, lever completely open. Here, just doing any touch-up work with my half guard. I usually start with the lever open and then just adjust as I need to. That's pretty much it for the fade. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start shaping out the C-cups. And using my trimmer in a forward position to get that much closer to the scalp, turn it around and remove that faint line that it creates. And once you remove that bottom hair, you'll notice that it leaves a faint line, which is going to be used as a guideline for our electric shaver. As you approach that faint line, make sure that you do release a little bit of that pressure and use the electric shaver as if it was a pair of clippers, using mainly the corners of it. Shaping out that neck. This is a mullet, so we're gonna come in and just round off the corners. You could always do a V shape. I've seen squared shapes. This is all personal preference according to every client. And now trimming up that facial hair. If you've been watching our videos for a while, you know we're huge advocates on going that extra mile. Always asking your client what they want to do with their facial hair, doing their eyebrows, and just cleaning up any excess hair that they might have, whether it be in the ears or nose, and doing their oil change, babysitting their kids. It's really hard to stand out nowadays, so you really got to go that extra mile as a barber. And of course, wiping down your client as much as possible before we begin our shaving process. Using our clear shave gel, go ahead and rub that in. And now using my all-time favorite, our Turkish style razor. Look how thin it is. Honestly, this is my favorite amongst all the razors that we carry. Always using your opposite hand to help stretch out that skin. There's exactly no reason why I'm using my middle finger, so do not take offense to that. And honestly, I'm not even showing half as much as I usually wipe down the client. I like to work with a clean area, so always constantly wiping down your client, brushing off all those loose hairs, and then adding some water to the hair before I add in the product. This is gonna help me work the product all the way down into the grain so we can then blow dry it. I always start with either medium or high heat. It really all just depends on the density of the hair, but I'm always using pretty much max airflow. And then from there, of course, you hit it with that cool shot to then close the cuticle once you have your desired look. And finishing off this style with a little bit of our texture powder, just to remove any excess moisture that it still might have, really giving it that dry look. And I did run out of hair enhancements, so I'm using just a black spray can with our coming soon faded culture enhancement card. This one's very cool. It's adjustable, dropping very, very soon. But in all seriousness, guys, please do not use black spray cans. Those are actual enhancements. And finally, here are the before and afters. I really hope y'all enjoyed this modern mullet tutorial, guys. I hope y'all took something new from it. As always, let us know down in the comments what y'all would like to see on this channel, as we do read every single comment. But until next time, my name is Adrian Barron, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.